Advertising agencies are dead, gone, sayonara, goodbye, farewell, or are they? Are they reinventing themselves? Is there a new normal for the advertising agency? Here to tell us all about it, Ursula, McDonald, and Pippa Capstick. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for having us.
Fantastic. Let's get right into it. What is the new normal for advertising agencies?
So, Scott, I think the new normal is that we operate in a world where business is being disrupted by fintech, apps, crowdfunding, economists, alternative revenue models, the wealth gap, new technology, and of course, a huge pandemic at the moment. And we are still operating, the traditional agency model is still operating on a model from 50 years ago and using channels that worked 50 years ago. And it's really time that we took some time to understand the new world and to create an agency model that works for that new world, which is what we're doing at A Country for Jane.
We really want to change the value that creativity brings to business.
Well, value is everything right now. The days of unlimited budgets, pretty much gone, done and dusted. We've got to rethink. And you guys are very structured in your approach, but at the same time, very strategic. But I also understand that you guys believe in a very variable model. And I want to talk about that variable model. But let's look at the brands themselves. And let's talk about those disruptions and those partnerships, as you so well put it.
So I think the kind of ideas that we look at is a lot of strategic partnerships and a lot of looking at how creativity can be merged with economics. Now, economics really is about providing people with what they need. That's what economics is about. Obviously, it's about numbers and finance, etc. Because how do you bring people their needs is through being able to afford that. But what we look at is saying, for instance, in South Africa, there's a huge need for people to have medical aid. And companies have obviously tried to bring medical aid at a really good and fixed cost. But why can't other brands come in and help with that proposition? So for instance, one brand we spoke to, we said to them, if we can use crowdfunding and use a portion of their SKU to offer a medical insurance product, that would mean that you could buy that product for an extra R3, and the crowdfunding, because of the volumes that are being sold, would actually pay for that. That's one example. We have, endless examples of how we've used different payment channels, different creative thoughts to bring new propositions to the table for clients.
Okay, let's delve. Sorry, Ursula.
No. So I was just going to add to what Pippa was saying. We call our value proposition idea economics, which Pippa alluded to. And it really is idea economics merges creative thought with economics. And in that way, it basically finds the best way to meet people's needs in a manner that makes the most sense to them. So we often ask the question, would anyone really give a damn if your brand ceased to exist? And by looking at the environment in which a brand operates, we try to find the ways that are going to make your brand the most indispensable and relevant to your consumers' lives.
Wow, that sounds great. But give us some practical examples. I mean, you mentioned a little bit earlier about the insurance side. Brands are sitting here going, okay, what do I do now? And you're saying you've got to think differently. You've got to forge these relationships, these new kind of partnerships. So yeah, hit us. Show us how they can do that and just give us some radical out of the box thinking that can get them back on track.
Sure. So I think before Pips, you may want to give you a couple more examples. But ultimately what we do and where our passion point really lies is in the strategy. So idea economics is a strategic process, and what we are passionate about doing is reframing businesses' value propositions. So we're not reinventing their business. We are literally just taking their business and the way that it's packaged and the way that they communicate that, and we're making it as relevant as possible. So it's just a reframing. And then beyond that, what we've done is not only worked with traditional platforms, but we ask the question why agencies work with them in such a traditional manner. You can work with the old and trusted trusted platforms, but you can do it in such creative, engaging ways that aren't being used. And further to that, we have developed some proprietary tools that we can use. For example, one is to do sampling, and obviously we know that with magazines that are not doing very well at the moment and all but disappearing, there's a bigger need for things like that, for brands to be able to sample their products. Another is through lead generation. We work with a incredible product that allows, particularly from a business to business perspective, brands to not only get across their brands or products or services in a really different way. They're also establishing themselves as thought leaders while creating an incredible database of engaged contacts.
So there's many different examples, as you guys have mentioned, about, you know, trying to look at the world differently. And you started talking about, again, going back to the partnerships. And I want to almost look at the discovery model, because Discovery and Virgin had a strong connection. It worked extremely well for them. Are you proposing more of this kind of thinking?
I think it's really looking at products in a different way. So for instance, one of our ideas was taking an orange juice and viewing it as a currency to be able to afford you a holiday. We know that South Africans are pushed very heavily financially, that they're struggling, that a holiday is a really difficult thing to do. But if we, you know, use the proposition that when you buy an orange juice, you're buying 5 minutes of, let's say, holiday time, the more orange juice you buy, the more holiday time you get in a resort. I think that's how brands need to really start thinking, and they cannot afford that all on their own. So we need to create joint ventures where everyone puts in a little bit of skin in the game to create a really engaging and new kind of value proposition. I think as well, if you look at business, if you look at the way that certain companies can help and support some of their customers, for instance, small businesses, one of our telecoms clients, we're saying, look at it as a crowdfunding. The collective financial strength of many can help small businesses actually get those products that and services that they need, like marketing, like skills, etc. So by paying subscription model of 100 Rand a month, we can use the pool of resources to be able to ensure that small businesses get those services that they need when they need them. And it's not free, but it's also not, it doesn't cost the amount that it would have cost if they were just paying it on their own. So I think looking at the world in different ways and saying, how can we all support each other, rather than trying to be a brand out there on their own, is really going to be a powerful way forward, especially in South Africa when our economy is crashing.
And the more purpose-driven marketing you do, the better your chances are of succeeding going forward.
So I like this concept of purpose-driven marketing, and this idea of collaboration, I think, is amazing. I guess the real question is that going back to traditional agencies, is they've got a specific way of doing things in terms of their structure. You have your traffic department, you have your creative department, you have your this and that, and it's all got to go through a process. You're saying they're going to struggle to implement this kind of thinking with those old structures. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a completely new structure. Idea Economics has ensured that we get this new agency model. And we have chartered accountants, we have an economist, we have people who brought iTunes to this country. We have marketing consultants who deal with the mines. We have financial aggregators. We have rewards companies helping us. We have payment platforms. We have a whole different way of looking at a proposition that we put forward through to a client, because it has to change, and you have to understand business, and you have to create revenue generators for it to have any kind of impact for the clients. Otherwise, marketing, which is a cost center, is never going to get enough money to make an impact.
Wow. So you're looking at marketing as a cost center needs to transform into measurable ROI. Fantastic. Yeah. Now this is music to the ears of many companies, and I like where this is going. But now you hinted at it earlier, and I'd like you to expand on this notion that with the whole advertising archaic structure comes a new way of hiring a new way of pulling in resources that are needed to pull in particular jobs. You mentioned the guy that brought in iTunes has to meet with somebody who did a TV ad, but also works for somebody who knows crowdfunding. So this is going, the way you pull in staff and the way you pull in skills has got to change, surely.
Absolutely, but I think that creativity in the new world is about knowledge, and it's not really simply just about how good a copywriter or an art director you are, but that you understand your place in the world and what in fact you need to give to your clients. So we are looking for people, for collaborators, and we want smart people, people who read Time, who listen to the news, who understand the nuances of how an economy works, who understand how the automotive industry fits in with the logistics industry, how you understand how every industry has a role to play, and that they play it together. And I think never before have creatives been asked to understand that level of business, but if they don't start understanding it, they're going to become null and void, redundant. I'm afraid, and redundant. And we are making sure that we are hiring really smart individuals who understand that creativity needs to be valued by clients again, and the only way you're going to do that is to understand their business and to show them the gaps in their business.
I think what you're talking about, I think what you're saying here is we need to move away from the traditional understanding of business intelligence and move into business wisdom. And the difference is profound, because wisdom allows you to take an intelligent model and match it and connect it with other intelligent models in a symbiotic way. And that is so exciting. So going back again, I know it's an older model, Discovery Health, Virgin Active, people did not want to leave Discovery because of worrying about losing their gym memberships. It's an old model, and I'm sure we can take that a lot further, but you have to admit it's working.
Absolutely. And I think how it's working is that people are getting value from it. So I really love the fact with Discovery is that it's always on, because they're trying to create a positive proposition. So, you know, put your health first instead of saying, we'll be there for you when you're really sick. I think businesses need to really, really look at that and say, how can we create a value proposition that is going to ensure that people would really miss your brand if it no longer existed?
Wow, that's an amazing concept. I absolutely love it. I think it's got huge legs, and I do agree. It's that innate business wisdom that we're looking for, and that brands are now looking for, because you're going to have the old guard that's going to come out of this trying to go back to the old normal, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to go back to the old normal. And then you've got the new guard like yourselves, new way of thinking, new way of doing, new way of recruiting, new way of bringing in skills. And of course, as you mentioned, from a strategic business understanding, it's a wonderful, it's amazing. To finish off, tell us a little bit about A Country for Jane and about yourselves.
Sorry, Scott, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, just to build on that, and also payment models. You know, we also want to add value to clients from that perspective. It's one thing to say that we're a partner, and we do see ourselves as a value enabler. You know, we understand what it's like for C-suite individuals to sit and have to explain the return on investment they're getting from their marketing spend, and they genuinely can't. So, you know, we have models where, for example, a risk-reward model where we're prepared to put a portion of the fee at risk. And if we meet the client's targets, we earn the fee, the percentage put on risk. And if we exceed it, we earn a bonus. And if we don't meet them, we simply don't get that portion. So we've got various models that we want to put in place to truly demonstrate the value that we are adding. In terms of A Country for Jane, we are unapologetically female. We're Janes. We are owned and led by women. We're not feminists. We work with a lot of great,
we do have a couple of Jacks.
Males. We do have some Jacks. But we, you know, there's a lot of reports and studies like McKinsey's that have done on on the benefits of working with women-led teams. You know, transparency, the attention to detail, being able to multitask. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and it really works for us. And actually, a lot of our clients, and the majority of our clients, are male, and it just works really well. I think the DNA of the agency is right, and it's really working for us. In terms of why we call it a new country, it's because we have said for a few years, not just during what we're experiencing at the moment in terms of the pandemic, but we've said for a few years that there needs to be a shift, a huge shift, and hence a new paradigm and a new country where we are about adding value to clients and truly listening and doing work that matters with results that matter to our clients. And not just doing awards that can potentially not doing work that could potentially win us awards.
I think if you come to our country, you'll see nothing's the same as the old model. And I think that's where it's interesting, because everyone can be a pioneer and everyone can be brave and do something different.
We ultimately work off new assumptions, that is proven ROI, marketing with authentic purpose, new age marketing tools, and creating personal experiences through effective data. And I don't think that you're going to find those assumptions on any other vision boards, in any other agencies.
Fantastic. It's a wonderful approach. I absolutely love it. I believe in it. And if anyone's looking to get hold of you, www.countryforjane.com, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
That's the one.
Ursula and Pippa, thank you so much for joining me on scottcundill.com.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for your time.